Peggle.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ferret64 podcast with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. Ferret64 is, of course, the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. We got a nice, healthy episode for you today, folks. The Nintendo Direct, Borderlands, Gears of War, etc. We'll see what happens, huh? Let's get started, though, with me asking you to like this video on YouTube and or follow the podcast on Spotify and rate it out of 5 stars. I would very much appreciate that. Do this every week, and the episodes keep getting churned out, and I look forward to keeping this podcast going, but you can help make it grow by liking, subscribing, and following on multiple platforms. Please, and thank you. Now let's go ahead and start off with what was announced at that game showcase. Okay, Nintendo did a Nintendo Direct on September 12th, 2025. It was a longer Direct than normal, featuring almost an hour of content. And was it worth the hour or not? Let's find out. Also, Spotify is using this new AI technology to make timestamps for me. I'm going to keep an eye on it. The last 2 episodes, the re-upload and the last week's episode, turned out okay in the end. So I'll just keep an eye on it. Just we'll see what happens. Anyway, Nintendo Direct. Here we go. Everything started off with the Super Mario Bros. 40th anniversary announcements. There was 4 or 5 things in total that they announced pre-Direct, essentially. This kind of could have been its own smaller Direct, kind of like what they did for the 35th anniversary of Mario. Although at the same time, I feel like if this section wasn't a part of the Nintendo Direct, things would have been maybe a bit different in terms of just kind of how the flow of the show went. Everything started off with the Super Mario Bros. Sequel, which I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking that they would talk about this. It's only, it's been a couple, about a month, or a year or so since the Mario movie came out. So kind of figured there would be an update for this. The movie is going to be called the Super Mario Galaxy Movie. And you know what that means. That means that they're re-releasing Super Mario Galaxy and now, for the first time since the Wii era, Super Mario Galaxy 2. Both these games will be playable on both Switch 1 and Switch 2, and there will be select amiibo coming as well. One of Mario flying with a Lumia next to him, and one of Rosalina reading the Lumia book. And both of those are going for, I think, $30-something. They don't look bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just it's a little bit pricey in my opinion. And also what's pricey is the combo pack for both these games. So when the Mario 3D collection came out, that was $60 at release, right? Super Mario Galaxy plus Super Mario Galaxy 2 combined are $70. So that means it's about $40 each. If you buy the combo pack, it takes about $10 off of the both the games. If you buy them separately digitally on the storefront, they are each $40. And when you look back at that collection that was $60, you could say okay, well, each game was $25 each. But now they're saying that Super Mario Galaxy was actually $40 on that original collection, and the other games on there were $10 each. Just kind of a weird thing, right? Especially because that was only 5 years ago that Super Mario Galaxy was re-released in that collection. And now to have it again, except apparently it's worth more money now, just doesn't really sit well with me. Now, they did add more storybook pages or content to both of the games, so I guess there's something there that adds extra value. But at the end of the day, and much like I'll be talking about through the rest of this Direct, just adding an extra mode or something like that doesn't really justify the price, in my opinion, for a lot of these announcements. But yeah, for the first time ever, Super Mario Galaxy 2 coming to modern systems officially, improved UI, enhanced resolutions, a new assist mode, and of course the new storybook content. You'll also be able to use the buttons and stick controls instead of motion controls if you so desire. Assist mode will feature additional health, fall recovery, plus you can learn more about the Lumas in the storybook chapters. All right. Like I said, that combo pack is $70. They did not reveal that it was going to be like a limited time offer like the 3D All Stars was. But I would keep my peepers out. Make sure that it's not gonna be taken down. Me personally, I just bought Mario Galaxy 2 for I think it was like $25 on eBay, and it's like, I'll probably get this combo pack maybe when it's on like a sale on Best Buy or something like that. Nintendo games don't really go down in price too often, but sometimes a sale can bring them down at least like $20, which I feel like is more fair, seeing as I already own Mario Galaxy, the same version of Mario Galaxy in other form. So, whatever. They also announced a new Mario Tennis game is coming out called Mario Tennis Fever. This was a bit of a surprise, seeing as Mario Aces literally stopped its content run like less than a year ago, I feel like. I could be wrong about that, of course, but it just feels like to me that Mario Tennis... I just don't feel like we need another Mario Tennis right now. Like, out of all the things they could have done with the Mario sports games, including the Strikers game, aka soccer, baseball, basketball, just you name it, we literally had a tennis game. It wasn't really that long ago that they stopped doing content for it, right? And the same thing could be said about Mario Strikers. And that was my thought process going into this whole thing. I was like, well, of course, we're probably not going to get a Mario Strikers game because they released Battle League and they just stopped doing content for that like half a year ago. So it's like, okay, so I'm not going to make it seem like I'm interested or I'm expecting a Mario Strikers game. But at the same time, the same reasoning is there for both Mario Golf and Mario Tennis at this point, because it wasn't really that long ago that we got those games on the Switch 1. And both those games, actually all three of those games, work on the Switch 2. You know what we haven't gotten in a while? A Mario baseball game. I believe it's been since the Wii era when Super Mario Sluggers came out. I played the GameCube version of Mario Baseball, which I think was literally just called Mario Baseball or something like that. It was on the GameCube. I remember really not liking the game when I was a kid, but obviously I was a kid, so I didn't really know what was going on, I didn't really understand the ins and outs of baseball as I do now. So I was really expecting... I wasn't expecting that, but that was like higher on my list of like, okay, what sports could Mario cover? Because they're obviously not going to do another Mario game. We just had that Donkey Kong game, which was huge. It'll probably be later in the year, or at least next year, that they reveal like, there's going to be a new Mario 3D game or something new in Mario related. We got Mario Wonder a year ago, and now we're getting Mario Tennis. They also revealed that the story mode is going to be a lot more involved. It's actually going to be like a actual story mode rather than Aces, where it kind of felt like a Mario Party board, where you just kind of went from game to game. It really didn't really feel like a joint experience. It seems like they're actually putting some time and effort into like a 3D open world, but you're playing with the Mario characters who have been turned into babies. And for the first time ever, we see baby Waluigi, which... a lot of people were very excited about that. Baby Waluigi. Wah! Like, literally, wah. So, this wasn't like the craziest announcement in my opinion. And at the same time, I am a bit disappointed that we're getting another tennis game. But also, at the same time, I like the Mario Tennis series. I like the Mario Golf series. I don't mind that we're getting a Mario Tennis game. I like the games for the most part. I wasn't really too crazy on Aces, but at the end of the day, it played well. It looked good, and it had some fun mechanics in there. So of course I'll give this one a shot. I'll give it a shot. This is supposedly coming out spring of 2026, which is something that you'll be hearing quite a few times from me today. Also, they revealed that there's going to be 30 8 playable characters and 30 different rackets, each with their own unique abilities, I would guess, special ability. So that's a lot of customization there, a lot of mixing and matching. And the ones they showed off so far was, of course, Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Rosalina, Donkey Kong, Pauline, Aluma, Toadette. I believe Toad was also shown in there as well. Wario, Waluigi, Bloober was in there, which might just be enemies in the game. So I don't know if they'll be playable, but maybe they will be playable. Blooper, one of those Birdo was in there. Boo, Bowser, Petey Piranha, etc. And then they also revealed that the flowers from Super Mario Wonder are going to be the announcers for the game, which I feel like is a great idea, keeping the I don't know if continuity is the right word, but the continuity of the Mario franchise, like keep adding these new characters. I like that idea. I like keeping new characters put in these games. Speaking of that flower, though, Nintendo also revealed that there's going to be a talking flower like thing, like little alarmo kind of guy that you'll be able to put in your room. He'll do random voice lines every so often, or you can press a button for a specific voice line. They did not reveal a price or a release date for that yet, but it is one of those things to keep an eye on. Might be kind of fun. In my opinion, they should have put a motion sensor on it instead of just doing it randomly. Like maybe they could have done maybe have like a switch on the bottom that's like, okay, off, motion sensor, or random. Like they could have done that. I feel like that's a better idea. But for what it's worth, I think that the flower is it looks like a nice quality. I just hope it doesn't break the bank like the Alarmo did. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Speaking more on those flowers, Super Mario Bros. Wonder plus Meetup in Bella Bell Park. This is also slated for a spring 2026 release. This is the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition Plus. There's going to be a lot of pluses today too. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This was one of the games that people were expecting to get a Switch 2 upgrade, and essentially what this upgrade does is it adds on a whole new co-op / multiplayer mode for the game, which includes things like collect the most coins to win, get to the end of the course the fastest. They kind of brought back the Wii U Mario Bros. Game by allowing you to place like donuts wherever you want to help or deter your friends. There's also one that's like, okay, how many lives you have at the end of the level or in the end of the area. There's also like a prop hunt mode where one person is it and the other person tries to hide amongst the flowers. But I think that this is also kind of like a weird thing because it's like, well, it's all on the same screen, right? And there's no way to like hide where you're hiding away from the person who's it. You kind of just gotta get lost in the shovel. And maybe the flowers themselves move periodically, which I think would be a good idea. But from what we saw from the second snippet of gameplay, it didn't show anything moving on screen except for the guy who was it. So I don't know. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of like little mini games and stuff like that. Obviously, all the co-op is back. Game Share as well. They revealed Game Share would be back. You can play Game Share even with Switch 1 versions of the game. You can Game Share to them, so that's pretty nice. I believe it's going to be an extra like $10 or so, much like the Mario Party Jamboree add-on. I'm not sure if there's going to be a physical version of this for the Switch 2. But I'm guessing that would probably be about $70 or $80 if they do release a physical version on its own. So that's coming spring 2026. And then finally, for the Mario news of the Nintendo Direct, Yoshi is getting a new adventure called Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and this is releasing only for Switch 2. And this is also coming in spring of 2026. All right. So this is a game where you play as a 2D Yoshi, much like the other Yoshi games that have come out in the past. And you're going across this book. You go inside the book's pages, and you, I guess, solve puzzles or whatever. I didn't show too much off about it. I mean, obviously, it's set up a lot like that Yoshi's Crafted world, where the environments and stuff like that, they're all very stylized. It's got this like low frame rate style too, which looks really good. It's like a claymation almost style, and that looks really good. The gameplay itself isn't really tantalizing me. I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of people who are excited about this, the casual audience in particular, and that's not a knock on the casual audience, but this just looks like a game that's going to be much like Yoshi's Crafted World, where there's really going to be no challenge to it. There's going to be no stakes involved. It's just going to be a nice, kind of like a kiddie game that comes to the Switch 2 instead of the Switch 1 this time around. But yeah, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book coming in spring 2026. I mean, the visual style is the standout here. The rest leaves a bit to be desired from what we've seen so far. All right after that, they said, okay, that's Mario's 40th anniversary announcement, so let's move on. And move on they did. A game called Storm Lancers, which is releasing on the Switch 1 on the same day as the Direct. This is a co-op co-op roguelite, kind of like a roguelike Metroidvania, where it's a side-scrolling action game, kind of like a beat-em-up. There's couch co-op and online co-op, and you just try and get to the get through the levels and beat the boss at the end and move on. This one is also not like giving me. I don't know. I'm just maybe I'm a hater. I don't know, but it just really didn't interest me. The art style is nothing super crazy. The gameplay idea, another Metroidvania, not a Metroidvania, another roguelite coming out. Like, I don't really enjoy roguelites as much as I used to. Pretty much Hades onward, all the roguelites just started to explode onto the scene, and there hasn't been one that's really captivated me in the same way that like Hades has. And even though there's roguelite elements in Cult of the Lamb and stuff like that, I just feel like with the genre mixing, it really doesn't feel like a roguelite, especially because the levels, they're like 3 levels long in Cult of the Lamb. So yeah, this in general just doesn't really interest me. But it might be a fun one. An interesting shadow drop, I'll give it that. Didn't expect a shadow drop like this, so there you go. Also coming to the Switch 1, Dinkum. This is coming on the 9th of November. Dinkum, I believe, has been on the PC for a little while, but now it's officially coming to the Switch. And this is to try and fill the Animal Crossing-sized hole that the Switch is suffering from right now. Dinkum sets you in the Australian outback, and it's just like Animal Crossing. You build up your town, people come and visit, people stay, people party with you. I believe there's a lot of online stuff as well. Where it differs from Animal Crossing is the fact that there's some like party mini games in there, and also some enemies to fight as well, like sharks and stuff. So that is going to be available on November 9th. There will be a free demo. Well, I believe it's available today, plus 10% off on all pre-orders until the release of the game, which is pretty nice. So there you go, Dinkum. I love the name. A game that is kind of like a mix between like Puyo Puyo / Bubble Bobble / Ball Buster, whatever that was called back in the day, called Popucom, is coming out. This is a co-op third-person shooter, essentially third-person puzzle game, where you use 2 different colors for each character to pop these like little Puyo Puyo looking guys. And if you get three of the same color in the row, much like Puyo Puyo, they will pop, and you'll be able to, move on through the level. There's also plenty of platforming and puzzle challenges along with that, including like matching up colored blocks, using a shield to shield from specific colored laser rays, moving things into place that need to be put into place. They also showed one of the boss fights being like this big snake guy. I thought that was kind of cool. I'm not a complete hater, right? There's up to 4-player co-op in this game, each person being able to have their own color, which is kind of cool as well. So Popucom, this comes later this year in 2025. If you have a friend to play it with, I think it would be a really fun time. If you don't, there is no single-player mode to this one. It is a co-op platformer, so I guess you'll just have to find a friend, But that's that. Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is coming in spring of 2026. They officially revealed that the date has changed from 2026 to spring of 2026. Ooh. They didn't really show too much new about this. I mean, they showed off the customization of your Miis, and they showed off some of the ways you can interact with them and have them interact with other Miis in this world. One of them had like a person being hungry, and you gave them lettuce, and they ate the lettuce, and now they're all happy again. Then there's also another part where they showed someone on the laying on the sidewalk, being like, I want to meet someone new, and so you move another person in their area, and then they start to have a relationship together. They also revealed that Me News is back. I believe that was a part of Tomodachi Life on the Wii, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's coming spring of 2026. Not much else to say about that. It looks like it's going to be fun. This could also essentially fill the gap or the void that Animal Crossing is leaving on the Switch 2's library, even though this is a cross-generation game. But I digress. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection got a bit of a showcase here. This is released on both Switch 1 and 2 on October 30th. It's coming up. It's all the information we already knew, so I'm not going to sit here and talk about it for 5 years, but the collection looks good. Behind-the-scenes video, collection of games from console to handheld to arcade ports. I think this is going to be worth picking up, even if you own a lot of the games on GOG or Steam or something like that. I think this is also a good collection to pick up just in general. It's just a lot of content in there, a lot of different games, and a big history of Mortal Kombat, at least its beginnings. I know a lot of people are asking for those PS2 titles and that era. I'm sure those will come. I'm guessing they use just a completely different emulation engine. So there you go. But yeah, Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is coming to Switch 1 and 2, as we already knew. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade officially has a release date for the Switch 2, and that is January 22nd. I'm going to assume that the gameplay shown off is Switch 2 probably docked, which looks really good. It doesn't look like it suffered from any of the Switch crunch that you might expect from if this game was going to release on the original Switch. It's funny because this isn't the first of like a new game, or not even a new game, but a graphically intense game being ported to the Switch. But this one looks really good on the Switch 2. If we can assume this is Switch 2 docked gameplay, it looks like it's got a pretty stable frame rate. The graphics look great. Obviously, a lot of what they're showing off is cutscenes, so we haven't seen gameplay, but I can only assume that the gameplay works just fine as well. That is coming January 22nd. You get the main game and the story DLC for Intermission. Linked Banner of the Spark. This is on the Switch 1 and 2. I believe this released the day of the Direct. I don't know if it was a shadow drop situation, but it did come out on the 12th of September. The gameplay itself is like a top-down, fighting game. I believe it's also another roguelite. Yes, roguelite RPG. We battle machines and fight alongside a crew of robotic allies called Unibots. The animated trailer looked fun, but the gameplay itself did not look fun, in my opinion. I hate the crap on a game without even playing it, but from the small snippet of gameplay they showed off, it just looks like one of those basic kind of we're taking the idea of Hades, but we're doing a little bit different. Anyway, you can play solo with friends. You can also play with mouse controls or with Game Share, so that's pretty cool. Speaking of Hades, Hades 2 is getting a console release on the Switch 1 and 2 on September 25th. It's actually the first the first console that the game is coming to, which is actually pretty crazy. So Hades 2 is a roguelite, of course, famously known for its mythology and use of Greek mythology for its characters. This one sees you as the daughter of Hades, who is kind of like a witch, essentially. And you're essentially trying to stop this war that is happening in the underworld. So it's a timed console exclusive, it seems, version 1.0. There will be a physical version of the game that's going to be coming, I believe, at a later date. But if you want to pre-order the game, I believe the physical version of the game is $40. I'm not sure what the regular version of the game is. I didn't see. I don't remember that. I saw it, but I don't remember it. But I'm sure it's going to be around the same price point. So there you go. Hades 2, first coming to Switch 2. Probably another console launch for version 1.0 coming up for PlayStation and Xbox later in the year or next year. We'll see. Kirby Air Riders is getting another Direct with Sakurai once again. He has more to say. and I'm here for it. I'm guessing he's going to explain what the new amiibos do. They announced that there's 2 new amiibos coming to the Kirby Air Riders game. One of them is Kirby riding a Warp Star, and the other one is Bandana Waddle Dee, who is riding the Winged Star. And the unique thing about these 2 amiibo is that you can actually remove Kirby from the Warp Star and remove Waddle Dee from the Winged Star and switch them. You can actually move the characters to the other machines. They did reveal that there will be more amiibo coming later, so I'm guessing a DDD and a Meta Knight version. But that's probably why these are like $50 each. It's because there's new functionality in there. Not only do they work kind of like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate amiibo, where you can save character data and train a character, but you can also switch and flop these things around to the other crafts, which is kind of a cool idea. They will launch alongside the game on November 20th, and there are more amiibo on the way, like I said. So, seems like the second direct is going to dive into what those other amiibo are, and also what the exact functionality of being able to switch these characters is for. Kind of reminds me of something like Lego Dimensions or Skylanders. There was even a Bowser and Donkey Kong. They added Bowser and Donkey Kong to like a racing game. I think it was a Skylanders racing game or something like that, where they could also be swapped out of their carts as well. I think. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, there you go. More Kirby Air Riders news coming soon. After that, we got Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is coming November 6th. So it is still coming this year. I was kind of surprised with the November release date, pretty close to Kirby Air Riders, which comes out the 20th of November. But, different strokes for different folks, obviously. This one, this trailer, they not only did they show the release date at the end, but they also showed some other mechanics of the game, like being able to summon a wind machine, or being able to ride on the back of a kaiju-esque machine monster, being able to team up with other characters, having multiple different abilities. There's also going to be a Korok character, I believe that's what it's called, who throws like grenades. So yeah, I mean, Age of Imprisonment, I mean, it looks good for a Hyrule Warriors type game. It doesn't, like, the enemy count, it doesn't seem too high for this one, which I was a bit concerned about. But it could just be that they were just trying to show off what the various weapons did, so they didn't want to, put a bunch of enemies on the screen for that. If you own either Breath of the Wild, or if you own Tears of the Kingdom or Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, there are 2 special weapons you can get with the save data link bonus. One being Enement's Guard Sword, and the other one being a Enement's Guard Claymore. So it seems like you'll be able to customize the loadout of your characters as well in the game too, which is cool. Next up, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. This is coming to both Switch 1 and 2 on February 5th. This is another reimagining of Dragon Quest VII, which I believe already had a remaster back in the day, but now it's been remastered even more so with 3D character models and cutscenes, sprite work redone. Everything is pretty much redone in the game to look like a modern top-down RPG. For what it's worth, the character models look kind of funny, but I think it works for the style that the game is going for. I mean, Dragon Quest games are usually more jovial than something like Final Fantasy or something like that. So, having these characters be like a chibi kind of style, I'm not too I'm not like gonna buy this game, but it's a nice style for the Dragon Quest series. Even though the original artwork is obviously legendary, there's something to be said about this chibi style. I think it works pretty well for this series. So. Yeah, Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, coming February 5th, 2026. All right, one of the biggest things for the Direct. Virtual Boy games are coming to the NSO service. This is not going to be exclusive to just the Switch 2. It's going to be available on Switch 1 and 2. The games will be available on February 17th. But there is a caveat. Being that because the games were made for a 3D lens, to look through a 3D lens, they're going to be selling a peripheral along with the Virtual Boy games being on the NSO service, and that is a Life I'm not a lifelike, but just a reconstruction of the Virtual Boy. But you'll be able to open up that visor and put the switch, slide the switch into it, and then close the visor back up to play these games. There's also going to be a low budget cardboard option for this as well, kind of like what they did for the VR version of like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, where you pretty much make the cardboard thing and you hold up to your face while playing with the Joy Cons attached to the console, which is probably not going to be the preferred way to play this, obviously. They already released the price for the Virtual Boy peripheral, though, and that's going to be $100, which I think is like a decent price tag for something that honestly probably could be worth more. But I'm guessing the price tag is because it's pretty much just going to be plastic with a slot for the Switch, too, right? Obviously, the lenses are in there that you need to look at it, but, I digress. I think this is a pretty divisive thing for some reason, but I think this is a good idea, not only because these games are all lost to time, essentially. I mean, who out there owns a Virtual Boy with all the games, right? There's only like 25 officially released Virtual Boy games, and one of those games coming to the Virtual Boy NSO service is worth like $10,000 right now. I forget which one exactly that is, but I think it was like a soccer game or something. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to bring these games over to the service. Now, should they put in something where you don't need to buy the peripheral to use it? Yes. I understand that it would probably be a lot more development time, like tweaking these games to get that stuff to work. But at the same time, I feel like the Virtual Boy games should not be stuck behind an extra paywall, whether it be $24 for the cardboard thing or $100 for the actual Virtual Boy unit. It's still I think that there should be a way to play these games without having to spend the extra money, because you're already spending extra money for the expansion pass service anyway. But let's go over the games that are going to be available. They're going to be, of course, they're going to release them at a staggered rate, so it's not all going to be released at the same time. They said 14 games will be released over time. I'm guessing these are all the 14 like official Nintendo first-party games that they published and have all the rights to still. I'm guessing there's a couple of Virtual Boy games that are kind of lost in time simply because IPs expired or copyright or whatever. So don't expect there to be every single game, but maybe at one point there will be. I don't know. But anyway, Wario Land, which was the big one. I think that's the biggest one to release on here because that is probably the best received Virtual Boy game. I don't know if they're going to launch with that one, but it seems like they're going to launch with Mario Tennis, Tello Roboxer, Galactic Pinball. It seems like they're going to release with 3 games, which is kind of a limited thing for how much money you're spending for these peripherals, but I digress. Also going to be available Red Alarm, Jack Bros, Vertical Toki? Why is it so blurry? What the fuck? Vertical Force. Force. Mario Clash. Golf. Bowling game. I think the bowling game was the one that was worth $10,000. There's another Japanese exclusive. Space Invaders. V Tetris and 3D Tetris as well. So all those games will be coming to the service eventually down the road, which I feel like, it's the Virtual Boy. It was the biggest commercial flop for Nintendo out there. It's one of the biggest flops in gaming in general. I feel like if I'm a person who's going to spend $100 on the Virtual Boy, which I probably will, let me be clear. I want the maximum amount of games from the get-go. So I'm not being like, okay, I played these 3 games for like 5 minutes each. Where's the game that I actually want to play, right? I'm hoping that they release these in big chunks, maybe a monthly type thing. I don't know. The other thing that people were saying, which I guess is where the divisiveness of this comes down to, is the fact that, like, yes, this Virtual Boy system was just a downright failure for Nintendo. We get it, okay? We get it. It's a failure for Nintendo. And at the same time, back in the day, these games were causing people headaches, and it was causing people to have their eyes hurt, stuff like that. So on the one hand, it's like, this is really cool that we're getting Virtual Boy stuff. But on the other hand, it's like, well, why didn't you tweak these games? Like, put them into an emulator and tweak them so that you don't have to have this 3D effect. You don't have to have this abrasive redness that can cause people to have pain. It just is one of those things where it's like, I get it, I get where the argument is, but at the same time, it's like, it's Virtual Boy, like maybe they should have just released like a Virtual Boy collection, physical collection, with the Virtual Boy like bundled in, like $150. I feel like that would have been a great idea, or maybe have the cardboard version be like $100, right, for the collection of games plus the peripheral. I think that maybe would have been a better thing, because the other half of the argument is, well, these are NSO games down the road, 10, 15 years into the future. They could shut down the Switch 2 servers. They could take the NSO games offline. And then what are you left with? You're left with a peripheral that has no use to it other than looking cool in your background, So I'm excited for this. I think I'll get the peripheral. It seems to be a pretty budget-friendly $100. I don't think that's too bad. I've never used the Virtual Boy, so it's another thing where it's like I could, use this as like my little like look into the world of what the Virtual Boy was. And this is also something that a lot of these games, like the console itself, the Virtual Boy console itself, it's worth a lot of money. So this is not like something that I can just go to my local store and be like, I want a Virtual Boy, please, and they'd be like, okay, we have like one for $100 here for you, and it's like, I want every game, please. It just doesn't work that way, right? I think it's a great idea to re-release these games. This is not going to reduce the price of the actual physical hardware, but it's going to be another way for you to play and experience this era of Nintendo history without having to break the bank, and I think that's always a good thing. Now, you might be able to stomach through looking at a blurry screen and play these games without the Virtual Boy. I don't know if there'll be like some sort of third-party thing, like put on these 3D glasses. I don't know, but the bottom line is that I think it's a cool idea. I'm probably gonna buy the $100 Virtual Boy thing, and I'll enjoy it. Hopefully, or maybe we'll see why it was such a commercial failure. Let's move on. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake. This is coming in early 2026 to the Switch 2. It's probably going to be coming to other consoles as well, I'm pretty sure. But this is a pretty nice remake of a game that came out quite a long time ago at this point. Obviously, they upped the graphics and the fidelity of the game, gave it some just a lot of touch-ups to it, right? But yeah, this is coming early 2026. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake. Nothing much else to say about that. All right, we got a couple of Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. Overcooked 2 is getting a Nintendo Switch 2 Edition in holiday of 2025. This is going to add in camera functionality, so you can actually see the person's face while they're cooking, which is kind of a nice idea. Stardew Valley Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. This is another update, another version of Stardew Valley. This one's going to add mouse controls into the game. It'll be, of course, it's only available on the Switch 2. I don't know if that's going to be an extra cost or if it's just going to be an update for it. I guess what they'll find out. This is coming in fall of 2025, so it's got to be soon. And then Human Fall Flat is also getting a Switch 2 Edition. Some of the new things will be being able to use of course, being able to use mouse controls for things if you so desire. Then they also just kind of upped the resolution of the game as well in the Switch 2 Edition too. Another game, Power Wash Simulator 2, is getting a Switch 2 Edition in fall of 2025 when the game comes out. No release date for this game yet other than fall, and we just start kind of jumping into fall now, so we'll see when it does decide to come out. I am pretty excited for this. I mean, even though I wasn't like a super big fan of the original game, I thought the concept and idea was nice, and it feels like this game, they kind of listened to some of the feedback, whether I was loving or other people were loving, where it's like, yeah, I know soap really doesn't do anything. There's some very annoying things in the game as well, but they seem to have improved it a lot with extra devices and tools to help you get these things cleaned, and it seems like soap now actually does the job that it's supposed to do in the original game. So yeah, that's coming in fall 2025. There will be mouse controls available with it as well. Also, 4-player co-op. I don't believe they announced that before, but yeah, 4-player co-op is coming to the game too. Suika is getting a sequel. I know, pretty crazy. Suika Game Planet. There's a Switch 1 and Switch 2 version of this game coming. This is coming out in winter of 2025. Suika Planet sees you playing as the dropper guy, and you drop the fruit into a circle instead of on a flat plane. So it, of course, gives you a bit of a different challenge to do for the game. The game will probably be released for like $5 or something like that. I feel like it's going to be a pretty nice budget title. There will also be game share available. You can play with up to 4 other people in the game, and on top of that, it's a game. It is a game. Great commentary, Yemmy. All right, let's get to the real meat and potatoes here. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming to Switch 1 and 2. They have a release date for it now, which is December 4th. This is our essentially this is our holiday title, even though I feel like Pokemon ZA is technically the holiday title. But Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming December 4th. Obviously, because Jeff Keighley is a dunce, he's not going to be even including this into either this year's Game Awards or next year's Game Awards because it's releasing in December. And you know what that means? December game titles don't exist. That's right. But this is looking really cool. They showed off like this bike that Samus was using to go around this desert area, which I thought is a really cool idea. My main issue, and we can assume that we're looking at Switch 2 gameplay of this, is they do a bunch of like big, awe-inspiring zoom-out shots. And it's like, yeah, the sky looks amazing, the flare looks great, the vistas look cool, but it doesn't look like there's anything to do in the world. Like, yes, is there enemies to fight while you're on the bike? Yes, they showed that off. Like, of course, I'm guessing there's going to be like little maybe dungeon-type things around they can go into, which are cool. But at the core of this, even though I was very excited when I saw this bike, and I was very excited originally when I saw the deserts that you could explore, at the same time, I'm like, this is very barren. There's really nothing to see here. Like a few structures here or there, a few things in the distance. And in my opinion, when Metroid is at its best, when it's at its prime, it's those meticulously designed corridors and those beautifully designed puzzles that really make your brain think, And they did show that at the end of this trailer. They showed some first-person action where Samus was shooting up some aliens and solving some puzzles. Looks like a boss came out of nowhere, and then also the main antagonist Sylux came around too, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. There's also going to be a Metroid Prime 1 through 3 visual retrospective coming on the 28th of October, which is also a cool thing as well. They also revealed some new amiibo. Not only will you get a Samus from Metroid Prime 4 amiibo itself, but you'll also get a Samus and Viola, which is the name of the bike. There'll be a combo pack, not combo pack, but it's Samus on the bike. That'll be an amiibo. That's coming November 6th. And then Sylux, the Metroid Prime 4 version, they have to specify that, is coming the day of the game's launch on the 4th of December. So I think the motorbike one is the coolest of these. Sylux and Samus, I believe, are $30 each. The motorbike, I believe, is like a $40 price tag. And you might be asking, well, Yummy, you said that the Kirby Air Riders ones were like $50. It's like, yeah, those are $50 because they have extra things you can do with them. The Samus one, Samus is not removable from the bike or anything like that. So I believe it's just you're just paying for the extra, material to make the product essentially. I don't believe they said what they do in the game. But when I really got excited for this preview was when Samus did the Akira slide into the new area she was in, and then she started doing these things inside these wonderfully beautifully rendered locations, textures on the wall, like lava and ice and stuff like that. It all just looked really good. But I am a bit concerned about this whole motorbike thing and this open world that you're going to be exploring. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't put enough time into it yet. Maybe they'll be tweaking it as the game is about to be, sold. But from the couple of stills that I put while I've been kind of talking about this, I also skim around through the video. The stills just don't impress me, And this is the Switch 2 we're talking about. We just had Donkey Kong Country Bonanza, one of the best looking games in Nintendo history. Also, Mario Kart World came out. One of the best looking games in Nintendo history. And I think that it's pretty much because Metroid Prime 4 is a Switch 1 and 2 dual release that there's, some things being left behind in the Switch 2 version. You want to see the more detailed dunes. You want to see the really nice vistas and not have pop in. But I feel like because they're doing two versions of this game at the same time, one of the versions is going to suffer, and that's going to be the Switch 2 version, which is not the version that I think should suffer. Because as I was going to say at the end of this whole thing, Nintendo really needs to focus now more than ever on selling people that Switch 2. I know there's a lot of people who already own the Switch 2, but everyone who has a Switch 2 at the moment, I think we're all just pacing. We beat Donkey Kong Bonanza. What is there to do now? We beat Mario Kart, we beat Donkey Kong Bonanza, we've played Nintendo Welcome Tour. That Drag X Drive game did not inspire anything inside of me to go buy it. What do we do now until the next big marquee release, which is Pokemon at this point, right? Or yeah, Pokemon ZA. And you come up with a blank because it's like Mario Kart World was not the most replayable game since Mario Kart 8. Sorry, it just isn't. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I beat it. I want to play more of it, of course. But at the same time, it's like, I'm ready for something new. I'm ready for a new experience. It took me about a month to beat Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is a pretty good amount of time. And yet, I see this Nintendo Direct, and it's like 2026 releases a little bit here and there. Some other games coming out later this year, right? Like Age of Calamity and stuff like that. But like, I wanted Metroid Prime 4 to be like the big marquee like Switch 2 release. Like we worked extra hard on the Switch 2 version, and where it stands, whether it be Pokemon ZA or Metroid, they're just not impressing me with these open worlds. Like ZA, the Switch 2 version, which I'll talk about in a minute. I mean, it looks fine, but like it doesn't look Switch 2 quality. And the same thing can be said for these open world desert areas. They look fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be a footnote in this game's in this game's legacy, essentially. But at the same time, it doesn't look Switch 2 quality. It looks Switch 1 quality with a really nice skybox. So that's my concern. I'm still buying the game. I'm still excited about the game. Okay, just saying. But there are some things I would like to point out. Donkey Kong Bonanza is getting DLC. This might make me jump back into Donkey Kong Bonanza a little bit sooner than I was expecting. But Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's only been out for about a month now, and they're giving us some DLC, which I think is a great idea, because this DLC not only adds a new area to explore that is inspired by Donkey Kong 64, but it also adds a new roguelite mode where you crush emeralds to gain abilities, and the more emeralds you crush, the greater rewards you get. So the island itself is DK Island, kind of a mirrored DK Island from Donkey Kong 64. It looks like a pretty nice recreation of that map while also adding in a lot of new things. You'll see Diddy and Dixie there, along with Rambi and Cranky Kong, and also Squawks. Squawks is there too. Looks like there's going to be a whole slew of more bananas to find and relics to find, probably, and also new outfits for Paulina, and Pauline and Donkey Kong. So cool stuff there. And the new roguelite mode will be available not only on this map, but a couple of other maps as well, including, but not limited to, Lagoon Layer, Hilltop Tower, Freezy Layer, Canyon Layer. So it adds a good amount of content to the game. And this is, I believe it's only like $10, something like that. So it's a pretty nice budget-friendly DLC. It doesn't feel like something that needed to be in the game from the get-go. I don't mind them releasing it a month later, and at the same time, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Adds in this new map and adds in this new mode that's available across a couple of different maps. So that's pretty cool. Also, there's a free demo of Donkey Kong Bonanza available on the eShop on the same day as this. Let's talk about Pokemon. Pokemon Pokopia. This is a Minecraft/Animal Crossing inspired Pokemon game where you play as a Ditto who mimics a human, and as you are this human in this kind of like Minecraft Animal Crossing looking world, you meet up with other Pokemon, you mimic their abilities, and you create things with their abilities. So Bulbasaur shows up, and you can learn his little Vine Whip attack, which can raise up shrubs or whatever from the ground, right? You find Charmander, and you can use Charmander for a different thing. Use Squirtle for making water. Use Scyther to cut through things. So many different Pokemon that Ditto can mimic. And as you go through, you kind of make your own like Pokemon world, like Pokemon. It kind of reminds me of like Let's Go Pikachu or something like that. So you can make like a center for your Pokemon. You can make bicycles and signposts and stuff like that. It's almost like making your own Pokemon adventure, except there's really no capturing your Pokemon, and that's why it feels more like an Animal Crossing from what I've seen. It looks more like an Animal Crossing where it's like, yeah, these Pokemon come, they visit you, you mimic their powers, you're able to build up your world the way you want it to, but it's not like you're making. It's not like a Pokemon Maker game, right? You are essentially just kind of doing this for yourself and maybe some friends who can join you. But other than that, it is very much like an Animal Crossing style game, and that's the third game now that's been like an Animal Crossing inspired, which is not a big concern, but at the same time, it's like, I guess Animal Crossing is going to be next holiday season then. But yeah, this is coming 2026. No official release date yet. And then right after that, they showed off Legends ZA, the Switch 1 and Switch 2. This is coming October 16th. And yeah, I mean, the game looks fine. Like I said, I think that the Switch 2 version looks a bit better than what we saw from the Switch 1 version. But at the same time, these streets don't look like they hold a lot of secrets. And the whole vibe of the game is like inside the city. So you kind of wish that they would maybe put more time and effort into making these city ways look unique and have fun things going on. But at the same time, it's hard to say what they're actually going to do with it until we actually get it out there. They showed some more Mega Evolutions for Chestnut, Delphox, and Greninja, which is pretty cool. You can earn Mega Evolution stones by playing online ranked battles with Nintendo Switch Online. So it seems like it's going to be kind of held behind a cost window there, which is not my favorite thing. If Mega Evolutions are a part of the game and a part of the experience, why is there not a way to earn them without having to go online for the, obviously it's a $10 a month kind of fee, but at the same time, it's like it's essentially paywalled to get the Mega Evolution stones for these three characters, Chestnut, Delphox, and Greninja. That just seems a bit shady to me. Why can't we just get stones for everyone? Why can't one stone work for everyone? Why do we need to go online and battle other people in order to earn these stones? It doesn't make any sense to me. Just another head-scratching move by Nintendo here. To add to the list. Danganronpa 2X2. This is a remaster of Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair. So this is the one where they're like on an island or whatever, I guess. There's apparently a new scenario with new twists also included in this 2X2 game. So it's Danganronpa 2 plus 2, or X2. Yeah, so this is a revamped original version of Danganronpa 2, which will be included in the game. It's kind of like an open world exploration type thing for that new mode. I never tried a Danganronpa game. I mean, they look chaotic and cool, but it's also not a game that I'm really super interested in. But maybe one day I'll try one out. All right, I told you I'd get back to like a concern I had for the Switch 2. This is Dynasty Warriors Origins. Now, this game came out early this year in January, and they're going to be releasing the Switch 2 version on January 22nd next year. This is a game that on PS5 and Xbox Series X and PC touted, it's the biggest game yet, the most enemies on screen ever. And you go, okay, this should run pretty well on Switch 2. I mean, it's not super graphically intensive. And then the gameplay starts up, and I was like, this is shell-shaded. This is literally cel-shaded. And also, if you look at when the characters are fighting, now that's only a very short, brief moment, there is not the number of enemies you expect, thousands of enemies to expect on the screen. And maybe it's just because they used a section of the game that didn't look like there was a lot of enemies, but this also compounds with the idea of Age of Calamity also not having that like 1 versus 1,000 action that Dynasty Warriors Origins had. So that's also another concerning thing. Like if you're buying the Switch 2 version, I feel like you should be getting Switch 2 quality. And if they have to cel shade the game and reduce the number of enemies, maybe the Switch 2 isn't as amazing as I thought it was when it first came out. But then again, you see games like Mario Kart and Donkey Kong running on there pretty flawlessly. So it's like, why did they just not put enough time and effort into it? Was this build originally for the Switch 1? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, they did announce new DLC for Dynasty Warriors coming out by the end of the year, which is pretty nice. I don't know if I'm going to jump back into the game when the DLC comes out, but I mean, I like them putting Dynasty Warriors Origins on the Switch too. I just wish that they didn't have to sacrifice stuff for the game. That's all I'm saying. Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection. It's coming to Switch 2 on March 13th. Pretty short trailer that they had for it here, just showing off some of the open world and some of the characters that you were going to meet and some of the enemies you were going to face. This is like Monster Hunter Pokemon, right? You like raise these monsters, you capture their eggs and you raise them and they become like your pet. Nintendo's probably going to sue them, right? That's a whole nother thing. All right, after that was the Partner Sizzle Reel. 2 Point Museum is getting a Switch 2 version with mouse controls being added into it on October 28th. Daisega 7 Complete is coming October 10th to the Switch 2. EA Sports FC 26 is coming to both Switch 1 and 2 on September 26th. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake coming October 30th on Switch 1 and 2. Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage that's coming just to Switch 2 in winter. Lego Voyager is coming to Switch 1 and 2 on September 15th. Little Nightmares 3 coming to Switch 1 and 2 on October 10th. And Persona 3 Reload coming October 23rd. Pretty good lineup of third-party games right there. Something for everyone. They capped off the regular part of the presentation with Resident Evil Requiem, which we all knew was going to come to the system anyway, but it was nice to see it running natively on the Switch 2. Also, Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 are getting gold editions coming out on the same day as Requiem, which is February 27th. These are going to be Switch 2 exclusive versions of the games. I believe that they are going to be non-cloud versions, which is, of course, way better than the Switch 1 had. So I think this is a great re-release. I'm looking forward to them doing Resident Evil 2 and 3 non-cloud versions, of course, and Resident Evil 4, of course. But right now, we get native versions of Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9 eventually when those come out, which is pretty cool. And then the one more thing, because there's always one more thing, folks, unless there's not one more thing. It's a bit of a guessing game. A new Fire Emblem game has been announced, coming in 2026. This one's called Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. It looks like you're going to be playing as a gladiator-type character inside of a coliseum, and you'll be using RTS tactics, top-down RTS tactics, to take out enemies. Now, Fire Emblem is a bit of an acquired taste for a lot of people. Me, personally, I've never really been into a Fire Emblem game. And when it comes to RTS games on the Switch or on Nintendo consoles in general, I usually go towards the Battalion Wars series, of course, or Advanced Wars. But Fire Emblem has kind of been there for a long time for Nintendo. It's one of their longest-running IPs, of course. And, I think it's nice that they are keeping the core RTS ways intact for this adventure in the series. It's been a while since Fire Emblem Engage came out, right? So I guess we were due a Fire Emblem game. Now, this isn't going to be a system seller. This isn't going to be like a million copy sell. I mean, it's probably going to sell like a million or so copies, but Nintendo knows that this is not like the biggest reveal ever, but it is a nice reveal for the people who like Fire Emblem. Here's where I start to complain, because they revealed that it's a Switch 1 and 2 release, meaning that we're going to have a Switch 1 version that's probably not as good, and a Switch 2 version which should be better, but might be held back because they're working on 2 versions of the game at the same time. This goes back to what I was saying about Metroid, where it's like, why do we need a Switch 1 and 2 version when one version is going to be holding the other version back? With Fire Emblem Warriors, it makes less sense because you'd never promised a Switch 1 version like you did with Metroid Prime 4. Like, it kind of makes more sense that Metroid Prime 4 has a Switch 1 version because it originally was announced like year 2 of the Switch 1. So it's like, yeah, of course, you're going to want to keep up with that promise. Say, hey, we're releasing on Switch 1. But at this point, if this game releases a half a year or more later into the Switch 2's lifespan, Nintendo's going to have the same problem that PlayStation and Xbox do, where people have their Switch 1s and they go, oh, most games are coming to Switch 1 anyway, so why do I need to upgrade my console? Why do I need to push this company forward if all my games work on the Switch 1? And Nintendo tried to be like, okay, well, all Switch 1 games work on the Switch 2, so buy a Switch 2 with these new games. But at the same time, even though you're missing Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart, a lot of games that are big marquee games like Pokemon, Fire Emblem, and Metroid are coming to the original Switch and the Switch 2. And I feel like by the time that Fire Emblem comes out, whether it be halfway through the year or not, I feel like it's time for Nintendo to start shifting its focus to just Switch 2. Now, I did predict that we would be getting Switch 1 support through next year. But with how this direct is structured and how I see this direct as a as a third party just watching it, it just feels like the Switch One is really holding them back right now. Like really holding them back. Like we have to really cater to these Switch One people, right? And it's like, no, you technically don't. And the same thing happened with PlayStation. PlayStation has been catering to the PS4 crowd since the launch of the PS5, and it's held their games back so much. Even though there's a lot of games that are exclusive to the PS5, the PS4 is always there nagging them, right? The same thing with Xbox, and they have the Xbox Series S even to contend with, a game console that they released alongside the Series X, which is also causing problems with how they develop games, right? These games, they need to be put on the Series S, so we gotta tweak and rework them. And maybe I'm just spouting nonsense right now, but it's my opinion that Nintendo really needs to get off of this high horse. They need to, one, reduce the price of their games and their amiibos. It's just getting out of reach here. Mario Galaxy plus Mario Galaxy 2 for $70 in a combo pack, or $80 if you buy them both separately, is just unreasonable. This should be a $60 release at the most, in my opinion, for Mario Galaxy 1 plus 2. Same thing with these Switch 2 editions. You do not need to sell Mario Party Wonder for $80 because you added in an extra co-op mode and some improvements to the base game for the Switch 2. It just does not make a lot of sense to me that they are selling the base game plus this expansion for $80 physically, where it's a $10 upgrade. I mean, I'll go back. Mario Galaxy at 1 and 2, these are 20-plus-year-old games as well, and the HD remaster of these games does not look good enough to be selling them for $40 each. I mean, these should be $20 budget titles, if anything. But no, it's Mario, so it's going to be inflated by Mario. It's going to be inflated by Nintendo, and then it's also going to be inflated by tariffs. So we get the triple whammy here. So even though this was a decent direct, I liked a lot of things like in a vacuum. Like I love the Virtual Boy stuff coming, but there's a caveat there. I like the Fire Emblem is getting more representation, but there's a caveat there. I like Metroid Prime 4's reveal, or not reveal, but stuff that they showed off. But there's a caveat. Like everything here has a bit of like a, pulling me back and forth. It's like I like this new Yoshi game style, but fuck, if it's like Crafted World again, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Like there's so much here that's like, is that good? Yes, I love to see, Dynasty Warriors Origins on the Switch too. But also, there's another thing where it's like, well, why did they downgrade the graphics so much, and why do they need to remove enemies from the field? It just doesn't make any sense. And also, why not just do an Animal Crossing? You have everyone there who wants an Animal Crossing, yet you just put out these replacements for Animal Crossing, Pokemon, Dinkum, etc. It's all just substitutes for Animal Crossing. So why don't they just do an Animal Crossing? Feels like they would sell a lot more consoles if they made a Switch 2 exclusive Animal Crossing. I don't know. I can't tell you. All in all, I am reducing my score on this one from a B to a C+. I could have been better. I honestly expect more from the first big direct from Nintendo for the Switch 2. And that is just me putting Nintendo up there because I have high expectations for Nintendo. Obviously, Nintendo, when they put out a game, it's usually a high-quality game that you want to play for hours on end. Look at Donkey Kong. Look at Mario Kart. Even though I have issues with Mario Kart, still, it's a high-quality, high-budget game. And it kind of just baffles me that this Direct was just so mundane. Really nothing new announced here other than a couple of re-releases and remasters. Information on games that we knew were coming, but we didn't know exact release dates, like Age of Calamity, Metroid, and Tomodachi Life. Whatever, doesn't matter. So, like, there's some stuff that I appreciate, but in general, all like the announcements in this one just didn't hit as hard as I was hoping they would for the first, like, Nintendo Switch 2 has been out for a while, direct, right? And maybe I'm alone in that thought process or not. I don't know. But the main point here is that I left my second viewing of this while I was watching Odom K play watch it, and I was just kind of like, I'm not like feeling hyped. Like I it's fun to watch these in the moment because you get like an instant reaction. But it says a lot when you go back and watch something from the game from the trailers and you go, I guess that does, I guess I'm not as excited about this because it just kind of looks like a basic Yoshi game. Or, why does the desert look so barren in Metroid? Like, I feel like Metroid is kind of known for its meticulously designed areas, but this just kind of looks like nothing. Like, so I have my concerns, and maybe you don't, and that's fine. It's my opinion, my podcast. Let's move on to what have I been playing this past week? Okay, for context, it's been not a full day, but I recorded the first part of the podcast before I left to go to a concert, and now it is the next day, and yeah, we are here to record the other part of the podcast. I went to the Weird Al Yankovic show, so my voice is probably toasted. So I'm going to try and get through this. Bear with me as my voice probably will decay as this recording goes on. But yes, I was at the Weird Al show. It was amazing. Let's talk about Borderlands 4. Okay, let's talk about Borderlands 4. This is the 4th game in the series. No, it's not. It's actually like the 7th game in the series. Pre-sequel and Tiny Tina's whatever that was called, Wonderlands, that those count as Borderlands games, at least to me. So the one thing that Borderlands 4 had to do over Borderlands 3, it had to get the comedy right and it had to get the story right. Because Borderlands 3, even though there were humorous moments and there was some good elements to the story, the majority of it felt rushed and or dumb. I did not like a lot of the story beats from Borderlands 4. And mainly because they killed off like my favorite character from the series, which you can probably guess who that was. So there was a bit of expectations for Borderlands 4. It's been a couple years since Borderlands 3 came out, and I haven't played Borderlands 3 in a little bit, so it's hard for me to like really compare the two gunplay wise. I mean, I feel like Borderlands 4 is more closely related to something like pre-sequel or Borderlands 2 in terms of gunplay and movement. Things are a little bit more held back with the movement speed and stuff like that. It feels much more like a classic Borderlands feel, at least to me right now. I chose to play as Amon, who is the like melee build kind of guy. His special ability is like he pulls out a fire and an ice axe, and you can either use them to swing at enemies or you can throw them, and it'll do constant damage on them for a little bit. And his ultimate move is he combines the two axes together, and then he throws it, and then it makes an explosion. And if you get one of the upgrades on your skill tree, it'll spawn a axe that floats around and helps you in the fight. So I decided to max that skill out. So now I have two axes, one fire, one ice, and it just kind of floats around after I do my ultimate ability. So I think the character is really fun to play as. I haven't tried any of the other ones. I am very interested in trying them out eventually down the road. But as of right now, I have not tried the other characters out. But Amon has been pretty cool. So they didn't really put a like specific weapon onto the characters this time around. Maybe I missed those perks. I don't know. But I've just been using like an assault rifle and a sniper rifle with him. But I think you can pretty much use any weapon with any character, and they're good with it. And I think that's kind of been the way it has been since like Borderlands 2. But I'll double check those perks and see if there's anything specific they want me to use with them. But as of right now, it just feels like, yeah, just using what I do, usually what I use. There's a new grenade type. Actually, there's a couple new grenades types. There's throwing knives now, which are really good. And there's also a like equipable machine gun that takes a while to restock. That machine gun's really good. I got a purple one of those, and I used it once, and it was like it mowed down regular enemies, and I was very surprised. But it does take a while to refresh, so you don't actually grab ammo for grenades anymore. It's actually all just a refresh meter. So, if you throw a grenade and you have two in your inventory, it'll take like 10 seconds for the grenade to come back. If you have a throwing knife, those take like 5 seconds to come back. They're kind of crazy. and then the machine gun takes like 30 seconds to come back or something like that. So it's a very interesting new style to do with that. I mean, with Amon, it's kind of crazy because his axes also had the same refresh meter for like 5 seconds each. So you can kind of like throw axe, throw knife, throw axe, throw knife, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean the gameplay has been pretty fun so far. It's this game is very much centered around co-op. Like I felt like Borderlands 3, you could really play that one solo and not have too much of an issue. Maybe the same thing with the Tiny Tina game as well. But this Borderlands 4 does go back to a bit more of a difficulty curve when you're playing solo. The badass enemies actually take some time to kill now, and not all of them drop good loot, but you know a lot of times they'll drop loot. And I think that's actually a really good idea, is to have the badass enemies actually be badass, because I feel like not since like the first game has a badass enemy actually killed me in quite some time. And Borderlands 4, I've already died a couple times to just a regular badass enemy coming out at the wrong time and not being prepared for them, and then being taken down by them, or well, having to go into fight for your life. So that's a good thing. That is a good thing. I enjoy a bit more challenge with a game like this, where it is more so centered around co-op. So obviously you would want to have your friend there to pick you up, or to take out the badass and then pick you up or something like that. You know, um, obviously it's up to 4-player co-op, so you know the scaling probably goes up as you add more players. But just being solo, it comes with that caveat of like, okay, if you go into fight or flight, you know, and there's like one enemy around, it's the badass enemy, you're probably gonna have to restart. The nice thing though is like, even though the enemy's health or the boss's health resets, the enemies themselves don't, which actually could be a bad thing if you don't have any enemies to kill for your fight or flight. I guess it's a bit of a give or take there. On the other hand, the story has been quite mundane so far. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it really hasn't like gripped me or anything like that. Like, I like the idea of like these timekeeper soldiers and the timekeeper himself taking control of this planet. And Lilith moves the moon of Pandora there, and it like starts to cause chaos. I like the idea, but other than the initial like, you know, couple of things that the timekeeper says to you, he's kind of relegated to a background position while his lackeys take over. And the lackeys, even though they're fun, they don't have the same punch as the main boss of the game, or the main villain of the game. And you know, I think back to Borderlands 2 and how perfect that Handsome Jack was set up. I mean, he's one of those legacy characters that will never die, essentially, whether it be through spin-offs bringing him back, or the pre-sequel giving you DLC to play as like Handsome Jack. Like, there, Handsome Jack will never die, and I think he's one of the most iconic villains in gaming history at this point. And it's all because of that Borderlands 2 experience. You interact with him all the time. You were constantly interacting with him. And I think Borderlands 4 is missing that. Like, even though there's a few scenes here or there where the timekeeper like says, "Hey, fuck you," or something like that, it's not enough in my opinion. Like, I want this guy to not be like Handsome Jack, but to have some qualities of like that game to make him more memorable. Because right now, as it stands, like I think he's come over the intercom like a couple times to chatter with me, and then other than that, it's mostly been his lackeys. And it's like, yeah, I mean, okay, like the lackeys are funny at times. Like, I don't mind the lackey, but at the same time, I also just want to hear from the main villain. Like, I feel like the threat of the game, even though it's a pretty decent threat, you know, that he's able to control people with these little like triangle discs on the back of their neck. Um, but yeah, he just doesn't have that same threat level as Handsome Jack did. Especially like early on, Handsome Jack didn't really come off as like a really crazy villain, right? Like, he kind of started off as more of like a jovial, joking kind of guy, and then as the game progressed, he got more and more infuriated by the antics of the Vault Hunters. So like, I mean, look, I don't want this character to be exactly like Handsome Jack. That's not what I'm saying. But there are some qualities to Borderlands 2 that really should make their way over to Borderlands 4, especially with how much Borderlands 3 flopped. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I'm enjoying the game. I think it's fun to play. Like I said, the story hasn't really like grabbed me so far. Like it's good. It's good enough. But I'm not sitting here going, oh, the story is like, oh, you really got to get to this game and get the story. Like the story really isn't really, what's really pulling me in. But the gunplay and the enemy variety and the badasses and bosses that spawn randomly, pretty cool. Like every so often, a dome will appear, and there'll be a boss inside there. They've been pretty unique enemies, which is something I like to see. Now, I will say, and this is the same complaint I had with Borderlands 3, the first boss of the game, even though I enjoyed the banter between him, he was just a regular enemy buffed up, right? He had a little bit more charm and charisma than the first boss of Borderlands 3, but it was still just a regular enemy boosted up. Now, I haven't actually fought another boss. Well, I have fought one boss. He didn't seem too crazy, but he did have some different moves on him, so I don't know if he was actually a unique enemy or not yet. Um, but I haven't really fought another main boss yet. I've just fought like some lackeys and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see what they do with the main bosses, because that's the thing that was the big point of contention with Borderlands 3 is like these main bosses are just regular enemies. Then they have the same move sets and they have the same whatever, but they're maybe a little bit bigger or maybe they have a bit more punch to them, right? So that's what I want to see in these bosses. And with these little domes that come down and give you like a boss battle randomly in like the open world, they do seem like unique bosses, like unique enemies. Like maybe the bosses will repeat. I'm sure that'll happen. But like the one boss that I fought was this guy who was like infested with poison plants. So he did corrosive everywhere as he fought, and then you could also spawn like these little like tulip enemies that had legs. And I thought that was like a really cool idea. Like that's a very nice enemy design, and hopefully it doesn't like show up later as a regular enemy because that would ruin the magic in my opinion. But as of right now, I haven't found another enemy like that, so pretty cool. The weapons, there's a lot of weapon variety. There's some new elemental damage types. So there's a holy shit. Yeah, there's corrosive and inferno and freeze, but they also added in radiation, which is a pretty good one. It kind of like when you hit an enemy with the gun, it like causes the enemies around them to take damage. I thought that was pretty cool. There's another new ammo type that I'm kind of forgetting right now. It'll come back to me when I'm re-listening to this in my car. I'll be like, damn it, why didn't you say this one? But yeah, I think Borderlands 4, it's been fun so far. I'm enjoying my time with it. It's definitely co-op centered, and they definitely are taking a little bit longer to get me into the story than the other games. Like I feel like even Borderlands 3, as much as like that game kind of annoyed me with its story, at least it kind of started you like right into it, right? You take Claptrap and you rescue Claptrap, and you join the Crimson Resistance. And in this one, in Borderlands 4, it's like, okay, you're captured by the enemy. They implant you with one of those triangles, and then you're freed by a fellow Vault Hunter. And like the opening sequence was just kind of like, oh, okay, all right, it's good, it's fine. So yeah, I'm waiting for the story to really hook me right now. But the side missions have been cool. Like I've been doing a good amount of side. Like I should say, the open world map, very good. Like I'm really enjoying all the exploration. They give you a vehicle pretty early on, so you don't have to run everywhere. So this map is big. It's loaded with a lot of things. There's a lot of side missions to do and little bounty board stuff to do. I really enjoy that. And going around and doing these like little objectives and little stories has been a lot of fun. There was one that I did recently where you help a guy make moonshine. So you go around, you're collecting some special eggs. You collect some special tree nuts, and then you gotta give this moonshine to the party goers. But as it turns out, you're not actually making moonshine. You're actually making something to sober them up, so that when they're sober, they come to that guy's stand and they buy moonshine from him. So that was like the big twist or not big twist, but it was a bit of a twist of the story. So I found that very entertaining. Even though the objectives are a little bit mundane, I think the voice acting and the what was going on during that side mission was enough to make up for kind of a more mundane, like go collect these things type of mission. So yeah, it's been good so far. I'm not complaining too much about it. I think in general the main complaints are coming from the performance on PC. That's where people are having a bit of a struggle. Randy Pitchford said that the servers would not go down, and he might be right about that. But at the same time, these performance issues, I believe people are having like frame rate issues and stuff like that, could be the difference between a good launch and a bad launch. Also, on the PS5 is where I'm playing this. I haven't had any of those issues, but I have had this weird issue where my gun won't render. It'll like be really slow to render. So like I'll be using like my assault rifle, and then I'll switch to my sniper rifle real quick, and the sniper rifle will come up and it'll just look like a unmolded piece of clay. And then slowly as I'm using it, it'll turn into the gun that it's supposed to be. And I don't know what the heck happened there. It happened twice to me, and then I haven't seen it again. I'm sure that's something that they can patch as well. I'm not as big of a stickler for like day one issues because you know that there's a patch coming for that within the next like couple days, right? And even though it's annoying while it's happening, I can play with confidence knowing like yeah, they're probably working on this. They're probably going to fix this. If an update comes out and they don't fix that, then I will be annoyed and then it'll be an issue. But as of right now, the game just came out. I'm not going to be super harsh on the performance issues because I'm sure that they're hard at work behind the scenes, hopefully, taking care of that. So, Borderlands 4, fun time so far. Let's move on. Greedy Waffles and I finished Gears of War Reloaded, the remaster of Gears of War. And boy, howdy, let me tell you, that is definitely a Gears of War remake or remaster. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? It plays just about as good as the original game or the original remaster of the game. It runs about the same. It has all the same issues from the original game. Slowdowns in the story, having the co-op character like jump to the host when they're trying to explore things. Long load times for whatever reason. Like it still has a pretty long load time in there. And the multiplayer is full of tryhards. So yeah, I mean, look, it's almost exactly the same game. And I gave the original game like a 3 or something like that when I replayed it a few years ago. Yeah, I gave it a 3. And this remaster is technically better than the original game, and it's actually technically better than the remaster that came out on Xbox One. And the main reason that it's better is the fact that it looks like a next-gen game. Like, the graphics in this look great. It looks like a brand new Gears of War game, which is a good thing. It looks great, but my main issues come from the original game. It still has the same issues that I had with that original game. Pacing, boss design, etc. It's all still there. I feel like it's time to move on from Gears of War 1. The game is what it is. It's stuck in its original first try at the IP kind of game. It's time to move on. Let's remaster the second game. For the love of God, let us remaster the second game, please. Have that be out by next year. I will be a very happy camper. I will even buy it on PS5 if it comes to that, okay? We need a different game in the Gears of War series to be remastered at this point. Put Gears of War 5 on PS5, okay? It makes sense. Okay? The new Gears of War game is coming to PS5 as well. It's called E-Day, right? And I guess it makes sense that they would put out Gears of War this reloaded Gears of War because the E-Day game is like technically like a day one Gears of War thing, like kind of like what Judgment was. So I guess we'll see, you know. But yeah, I just feel like I'm so sick and like I'm not like sick and tired, but I am tired of playing Gears of War 1 over and over and over again. Every time there's a Gears of War announcement, it's Gears of War on the Xbox One. Hey, it's Gears of War on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. And even though it's a great thing, it's a legendary thing to have Gears of War on the PS5, it's still Gears of War, and it does not play as good as any of the sequels to Gears of War. Even Judgment plays better than this game. Has more fun gun variety, has more fun level design, etc., etc. I'm tired of Gears of War 1, but I still gave this a 3.5 because it's a good game still. Even though I'm complaining a lot, it's still a good game. I'm just tired of playing Gears of War. Okay? So let's all collectively say thank you for this remaster. Let's remaster another one. Okay? Okay. Please? Thank you. Last up is Nightreign, Elden Ring Nightreign, which got a new update this past week that added in the extra, more difficult mode. And I think it made the game less fun. We tried it out. We did a couple runs, and like it's cool to have these like red enemies in there who give you extra cool, extra good loot. Obviously the loot has like two positives, one negative for your character, so there's a little bit of choice to be made there. I like that idea. I like that system, but I also don't like that system is locked behind this new like go deeper into the difficulty mode. And I just it's one of those things where I don't mind a challenge, but I've had the same complaint about Elden Ring since it came out, which is because it's set up like a roguelite, you get shafted sometimes by the drops. I'll be playing as the raider, but I'll get things for the guardian like counterattacks and spears, or I'll be playing as the archer, and I'll get things for like a regular, like a mage or something like that. And it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, I understand that it's all random and blah blah blah, but when I'm playing with two other people and one of them are playing, one of them's playing as like the Wilder or whatever, and another one is playing as the Revenant, if I start to get stuff for the Guardian when I'm playing as the Raider, that does not help me. And by the time you get to the boss, you're screwed. No matter what red item you pick up, you're kind of screwed. So you have to have like the good run. You have to have like a run that really comes together. And even then, because of the new higher difficulty, it might not even matter. The same thing happens with Everdark bosses all the time. And I think that because of these things, it's really started to degrade the experience. Like, I'll still give it a 4 out of 5. Like, it's still a great, like, the base game is still good, and I like the idea of these Everdark bosses being beefed up versions of the original bosses. I get that. But the main thing that still is keeping me from truly loving this game is the whole randomness factor of it. And like, you'll have maybe the greatest run in your life, but get smacked by the Everdark boss for seemingly no reason, just because they make like one attack, like the super big Bomba attack, and it takes you all out. And I get it, it's the get good mentality of like, oh, well, you just need to get good. You just need to do better. And it's like, I'm trying really hard to do better. But at the same time, when the game isn't giving me what I need to get good, like, I don't know, a better bow for my character, like, I have to resort to turning my regular starting bow to a gold bow. Like, something's gone wrong with your random drops, okay? Like, the amount of times that I've gotten the riposte causes like undead to attack with the wrong character is mind-boggling. And then I never get it when I'm playing as the Guardian. And I like playing as the Guardian. I think he's a really fun character to play as. But every time I play as him, I get shafted with stuff for the bowman or stuff for a magic build. And it's like, I'm not using that stuff. Please give me stuff that I would need. And another thing too, same thing happens with the new difficulty mode, is you get your map, it's a random map, and they give you like one location with what the random boss needs. So you load in, it's like, oh, we're fighting the centaur. It's like, okay, so we need lightning. but there's no lightning on the map. There's like holy and blood loss and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, blood loss is good, but at the same time, like, where is our lightning attacks? So now you need to rely on the random bosses or whatever dropping a lightning weapon, which is a very rare chance. I will say they did update the visual for holy. They made it look more distinct from lightning, so that is good. And I know that because when we needed lightning, it gave us a bunch of holy. And even though it was like, oh, cool, they updated this symbol, at the same time, it's like, well, they didn't give us any lightning on this run, so we're screwed. And yes, we were screwed because, yeah. So at the end of the day, I feel like the challenge is there for people who want it. Me personally, I think the game is already challenging enough without this added difficulty of the red enemies and then like the super tanky bosses and stuff like that. Like, I think the game is already hard enough. I wouldn't mind them putting random encampments that are red enemies on the map, like in the regular game or in the Everdark boss runs. I feel like that would be a good idea, like kind of like how the invaders go. And I think Greedy Waffles mentioned this to me when we were chatting about it, and I thought it was a good idea. Like, yeah, just put like put a circle that's like kind of reddish over like one of the areas, like a cathedral, something like that, and that's like an area with all red enemies, and they'll drop like some red loot for you. I think that'd be great. Or maybe some level 3 chests. Maybe scatter them around the map a little bit more. Have them drop some red items, because technically the red items are better than the gold items. But yeah, I think they're kind of dropping the ball with these updates. We'll see what happens with the first DLC. If there are no new enemy types, like regular enemies in the game, and if the map doesn't change all that much, I'm gonna be pretty disappointed. Even if they add like my favorite boss from Dark Souls 2 or something like that, like, you know, if they add the dragon armor from Dark Souls 3, that'd be pretty cool. But at the same time, it's like, well, you didn't change the map at all. You didn't give us any new places to go to, etc. Like, I'll be pretty disappointed. They're supposedly adding a new character as well, which I think will be kind of interesting to see. But at the same time, you know, if we'll see what happens. It's going to make the randomness even more, you know, go up. So it might make the experience even more annoying than it already is. But yeah, at this point, Callus, Greedy, and I, we all have the Platinum Trophy for the game, and we're just kind of playing it for fun right now. But I feel like the fun factor is starting to diminish, especially with this recent update, which added an even more difficult mode to it. So, sorry. Sorry, what can I say? Sorry. All right, we'll see if that's the last time we talk about Elden Ring Nightreign. But we'll see. I thought we were done talking about it like 5 episodes ago. Oh, well, what are you going to do? All right, let's move on to what's in the news. Okay, the Xbox Rogue Ally, or the Rogue Xbox Ally, my apologies, had a bit of a in-depth look at it through some various videos and also a Digital Foundry like podcast segment or just a video in itself. So they showed off the new advanced zero gravity cooling system. Essentially what this means is you could hold the console upside down and it could still it can still cool itself down, which is a great thing, right? Everyone's playing with their consoles upside down, right? But essentially what this does is it intakes air, it rapidly cools it with liquid, and then it pushes the hot air out through the top. I can't believe I have to say this, but do not put your nose up against the exit vent and just breathe in the air. I know it smells good, but it's not good for your body, so don't do that. But essentially with this system, it can keep pushing the air no matter which way it's being held. It can keep pushing the air through the system and continuously cool the system down. And I think that'll make long play sessions more viable. It won't heat up as fast, obviously. Playing with the Switch 2, it kind of has it almost has the same system, right? But it does get a bit hot after like an hour of playing. We'll see if this helps here. In a blurb from ROG Ally, they said to deliver the ultimate portable gaming experience, we designed an advanced zero gravity cooling system that keeps the Ally running smoothly no matter how you hold it. From 10 sessions on the couch to gaming on the go, the Xbox Ally stays cool, quiet, and reliable, which is pretty cool. I like the idea of long play sessions on the couch with your ROG Xbox Ally, right? I think the console looks pretty comfortable. People holding it in their hands in these trailers and stuff like that. I don't think I'm going to get one right away. I know there's some people who are very interested in this simply because it's like an Xbox Game Pass portable device. But at the same time, I mean, I've had a Steam Deck for quite some time, and even though I like the Steam Deck, the amount of times I've pulled it out and used it and taken it somewhere is not as high as the Switch. And I'm mostly an at-home gamer. Like, I stay at home. I play on console, PC. If I do have a portable device like the Switch 2, it's docked most of the time. Even when I have like I play with like a PSP or a DS sometimes. I usually play them around the house. I'll be at my computer desk playing my 3DS. You know, it's like I'm really not out there and playing it on the go. So, and if you're wondering, I'm playing Steel Diver on the 3DS right now. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, the ROG Xbox Ally looks like they've done some good improvements to the way it handles heat. And then Digital Foundry did a hands-on impressions video where they talked to one of the people who played the thing at Gamescom 2025, I'm pretty sure. And he said it's a very rich and fully featured interface. It can do things that other interfaces can't, but at the same time, let's put it brutally, I found some pretty glaring bugs with the interface, literally within minutes of picking it up. The first bug I had was with Doom the Dark Ages, was just kind of hanged. The second time I had issues with the analog stick stopped working within the interface, which was obviously making navigation difficult. On site, the Microsoft staff had to step in and get the unit working again. The third issue I had was something quite different. I was playing Gears Reloaded. I went back to the Xbox full screen experience, then loaded Doom the Dark Ages. It didn't ask me whether I wanted to terminate Gears Reloaded, so it went ahead and loaded Doom while Gears was still resident in the memory, which hammered performance. This is stuff that should be taken care of by the interface but wasn't. And in that respect, I felt a bit unpolished and unfinished. It felt very reminiscent of the kind of experiences I've had with pretty much every PC handheld I've tested so far using Windows. So that's not a great first impressions. Obviously, the system isn't out yet, and there's probably tweaks that will need to be done to it just through these minor play tests at, Gamescom and stuff like that. I'm sure that they will take note of these issues and move forward with them. I don't think this is like a truly detrimental thing. I think when most people play with their ROG allies or whatever, they're just playing one game at a time. Now, I do understand the idea of like, oh, I'm done with this game, I'll move on to the next one, and it not properly closing Gears of War Reloaded or whatever. I don't know if that'll be a major issue, but it is still an issue. So there you go. The one thing that's interesting about this device is the fact that it does have the Xbox Game Pass launcher on it, but at the same time it is still a Windows run device, I'm pretty sure, so you're going to have those issues that a lot of these devices have where the game might not be formatted properly for a handheld or whatever. I know with the past ROG handhelds, there's been times where like a game will load in like the screen is like this big and it'll load as like a little tiny square on there, so you have to like finagle the options and stuff like that. And you don't get that kind of thing with the Switch because it's running on its own operating system. But with handhelds that are running on Windows or Linux or whatever, you're going to run into some of those issues. Even the Steam Deck I think had a little bit of an issue with that when I played around with it. But then again, at the same time, I don't really remember what I was playing, so it doesn't really matter in the end. But yeah, so anyway, the ROG Xbox Ally seems to have some pretty cool tech inside of it. It also seems to have some bugs that need ironed out before the launch of the system. We still don't know an official price tag yet. People are thinking it's going to be around $400 to $500, which would be pretty steep. And of course, as has been said on the Indie Hangout podcast that I listen to with Mastec Gaming and Kronos and Pneumatics, you're gonna want that more higher end version of the console, right? You're not gonna want the cheapo version with like 100 gigabytes of data on it, right? Because that's gonna score one game. You're gonna want the higher end one that has more memory, more accessories, and stuff like that with it. But anyway, that is what we know about the Rogue Ally Xbox Ally. What am I saying? The Rogue Xbox Ally so far, and I'll update y'all when more news comes out. Dead Island 3 was teased as Dead Island 2 passed over 20 million players in Hell A. In a recent post by the Dead Island Twitter account, they said 14 years ago, Dead Island made its gory debut. Today, Dead Island 2 has dragged 20 million slayers into sunny chaos of Hell A. The next outbreak, Dam Buster is already drenched in the work. The journey is far from over. So this essentially confirms that there is another Dead Island game coming, whether it's going to be Dead Island 3 or a Dead Island spin-off, kind of like how Dead Island Riptide was. We shall see. But they posted a picture of a person with a suitcase holding out their hitchhiking thumb in like a bit of a wasteland type kind of vibe to it, kind of like one of those long stretches of road in like Arizona or something like that. So, we'll see what happens next in the world of Dead Island. I really enjoyed Dead Island 2 when I played it. I thought that it was a very fun blast from the past kind of game, very fun co-op game. If you haven't played it, I believe it is available on Xbox Game Pass now, which is what caused it to get over 20 million players, which is really cool. It's really cool. I mean, the story of this game in general is one that you don't see a lot in the industry, a game that's been worked on for like 10 plus years and it's had so many development woes and been restarted and all that stuff. To have it come out, be successful, be well received. I mean, well received enough. I mean, for it to have such a rocky development history, to have over 20 million players and be highly praised, at least by me. I've really enjoyed the game. I mean, I enjoyed it so much I put it on my top 10 list, you know. But yeah, for it to get all this recognition and stuff like that, you know, of course we got to get another. So, and I think Dam Buster Studios did a damn good job with this game. Like I thought Dead Light. Oh my god. I'm mixing up Dying Light and Dead Island. Dead Island 2, I think, was a masterclass in graphical fidelity, and the gore system was off the chain. So we'll see what they can do with the next iteration, and hopefully the development is not as rocky as Dead Island 2. All right, Life is Strange is the next video game to get a live-action adaptation. This time it's a TV show. So Life is Strange, we're going to be going back to Arcadia Bay, and we're going to be seeing what Max and Chloe get up to in the live-action version of their antics. This is being penned by the writer for The End of the Fucking World, Charlie Cavelli. In a quote, they said, the British dark comedy deals with the relationship between two teenage tearaways as one runs away from runs away from home and the other tries to engineer opportunities to murder her. So I guess it's a bit of a interesting show that this person worked on, but this could also translate well over into a Life is Strange. I mean, especially if they were writing for two teenagers who were kind of edgy, you know. I think that I think it could be an interesting thing to see Chloe and Max's story in a TV format. I mean, the game itself is episodic, so it kind of makes sense, right? But one of the whole things about Life is Strange, whether it be a series or just the first game, is the fact that you get all these choices in the matter. You have a lot of choices that you could make. Now, obviously, those choices end up really not mattering at the end of the day, but it is a fun little piece of the whole game where you choose what you want to do, whether it be minor things or major things, right? And I don't know how the show is going to handle that, how it's going to handle like the rewind ability. I'm sure it'll be something a bit more basic than what the game has. Like they'll have like Max do something and she'll be like, "Oh fuck, that wasn't right," or "Oh fuck, that wasn't a good decision," and then she'll rewind and do something different. I mean, I'm sure that'll happen a couple times. I don't know how closely they're going to remain to the source material. I don't even know if this is going to be based off of the original Life is Strange or the latest one. I'm going to guess it's going to be based off the original, because if Chloe's coming back, then it's got to be the original. But you never know what they're going to do. Right now, the Life is Strange IP is kind of in hot water. There really hasn't been a good game since the original game, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's just it's a bit of an odd one to see being made into a TV show. But I mean, out of all the Life is Strange games, this one seems the most like the most likely. So I'm sure it'll be a fine show. No info on where it's going to come out or if it even started shooting yet, and what platforms it will be on. Nothing there quite yet. So we'll wait to hear more about that in the future. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's coming soon. All right, Battlefield 6 is going to have a single player live showcase later this month at the Tokyo Game Show, of all places, at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, September 25th, at midnight Eastern Standard Time, and 1 p.m. Japan time on September 26th, a day later. Battlefield 6 is going to showcase the single player live, which is pretty cool. In a quote, they said the developers and English voice actors of Battlefield 6 will introduce the upcoming first-person shooter, including a look at the single-player story mode featuring executive special producer Felipe Dusram and senior creative director Roman Campus Aurelia. So I'm guessing they're going to show off maybe like a snippet of the first level or one of the first levels in the game. I am interested to see what they do with the story. I mean, we haven't had a story in a Battlefield game since Battlefield 5, right? Which I mean, I guess it's only like 2 games ago at this point, but still at the same time, like Battlefield 5's campaign wasn't exactly a standout. Same thing with Battlefield 1, even though like they were good or like fine. I'll say they're fine. They didn't like stand out, do anything super special. But you kind of miss that single player charm from Battlefield 2042, especially now that the game is in its final lifespan with Battlefield 6 coming out. So yeah, I guess we'll wait and see what the showcase has for us. And by the time the next episode comes out, maybe not. 2 episodes from now, we'll talk about this reveal trailer and dive into that. All right, Destiny 2 is giving us another update called Renegades. This expansion is essentially featuring a lot of Star Wars iconology. So, you get a lightsaber. I'm sorry, quote unquote, a lightsaber, a quote unquote ATST, okay, a quote unquote X-wing, a quote unquote blaster pistol. Like, there's a lot of things that are inspired by Star Wars, but they're not exactly Star Wars, right? So the Cabal enemies. There's like a new faction that has like stormtrooper styled armor on them. The ATSTs walking around. The weak point is on the back, much like the Star Wars Battlefront games. You get like a laser pistol that kind of looks like the pistol from Star Wars. You get this new craft that kind of looks like an X-wing, but it's not really. You get these outfits that kind of look like a junker. You get this like Vista. They have this like Vista they showed off that looks like Jabba's palace or Hoth, the turn at Hoth, or Endor, and it's like, wow, like this isn't even like. They aren't even partnered with Star Wars. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, they're adding in all these things that look like Star Wars. A Sarlacc pit, Jabba's sail barge, the Hoth ball turret, chicken walkers, right? But it's not even associated with Star Wars. It's just all these things that were inspired by Star Wars. And obviously, Destiny was very much inspired by Star Wars, much like how Halo was as well. But at the same time, they might be doing a bit too much with this one, and they could get into some legal conflict with some of these locales. Essentially, this is just inspired by Lucasfilm. It is not in any way associated with Lucasfilm, which could be the reason why they get under a little bit of hot water. I mean, Disney is very Sue happy, as we all know. So, I guess we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, essentially having like a laser sword, a lightsaber, quote unquote, in the game is pretty crazy. And I guess they're going to be adding some special missions and bounty rewards for this new expansion as well. In a quote, they said, "In the lawless frontier, Guardians will take on high-risk, high-reward jobs to complete contracts, smuggling, bounty hunting, and sabotage. They're either solo or with a fire team. These missions span 3 planets with 6 maps inspired by the iconic Star Wars locations. One feature, Invasion, allows players to opt in for additional challenges by and rewards by enabling other Guardians to invade the battlefield. This introduces a layer of strategic unpredictability where greater risk reveals greater rewards. Players will earn exciting new rewards by battling through Reclaim, a new 3-player fire team op activity where Guardians hunt for Golden Age tech and complete evolving objectives against Vex and Cabal forces in this race against time." So there you go. Like I said, this is not related to Star Wars at all, but it's very heavily inspired. They even mentioned Star Wars in the press release, so there you go. If you pre-order this update, you get instant rewards, including the X-Wing inspired ship, which looks very close to an X-Wing. So close that I feel like Disney is licking their lips with this one, okay? I'm just saying. There's also an armor set that looks very close to Kylo Ren and Darth Vader in here as well. I mean, I'm starting to wonder if this actually is associated with Lucasfilm. Maybe I'm wrong, and it is associated with Lucasfilm, because this is way too closely related for them. Hold on. Let me scroll to the end here. Okay, the Lucasfilm logo is in the credits here, so I must have missed that somewhere in the article or something like that. Oh, here it is. Due out on December 2nd is a Star Wars-inspired DLC with Lucasfilm's approval. Okay, I didn't see that before. I'm sorry. Okay, take all that back. Take all that back. My apologies. What can I say, folks? I went to bed at 1 o'clock last night. You know, it's one of those days. It's just one of those days. Burp. All right, Dying Light the Beast. This is coming soon on September 19th, and the developers have released a Behind the Beast parkour and combat video. This kind of goes into the new systems with the parkour and the new beast mode. The parkour itself looks very reminiscent of the original Dying Light, which is a good thing. The original Dying Light is a masterclass in environmental storytelling and environmental design, and Dying Light 2 kind of missed the mark on that, along with the stamina system that is now going to be taken out of Dying Light 2. So what they showed off looked really good. I really liked the movement and the speed of the parkour. At the same time, the beast mode stuff does also look pretty good too, along with the combat. It seems like they're bringing guns back too. There's going to be more guns than ever in this version of the game, so that's also nice. I mean, I understand the idea of Dying Light 2 having like all the weapons be either like the like pistols and stuff like that be made into melee weapons and or being relegated to the most powerful. But at the same time, it's like you kind of miss the fun of having a gun on you too. But Dying Light the Beast, if you pre-order now, you get the exclusive bonus Hero of Haran. Gives you a special knife, crossbow, pistol, and special skin for your Jeep or whatever you'll be able to use in the game too. In the press release, the developer said, "Parkour feels grounded with natural weighty body movement and careful balanced jump physics that eliminate floatiness. Players can climb anywhere without stamina limits, but must use observation to reach tricky spots. There are no parkour assists in default mode, keeping the challenge realistic, while the environment of Castor Woods allows for seamless flow and exploration. Kyle now has 17 unique edge grab animations and over 100 new animations that show his agility and skill at every step. Combat, physical, brutal, and creative, is based on new physics engine that delivers realistic hit reactions and precise impact on enemy bodies. Swing and stomp animations have been improved to make every hit feel powerful, while active ragdoll and short animations create fluid, responsive reactions. Human enemies support stealth playstyle and use advanced cover mechanics during shootouts with up to 22 different positioning strategies. The damage model lets players destroy over a dozen body parts with more viable and varied wounds than before, making every encounter intense and rewarding." Look, I mean, this sounds pretty good. September 19th is the day for that. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. This has been a long time coming for me, and I was kind of concerned about this game early on, but now with all the new information we've gotten about it, it looks like it's very much more related to Dying Light 1 than Dying Light 2, which is good in my book. So Dying Light the Beast, which originally was supposed to be a DLC, coming soon. Looks like it's going to be well worth the wait. All right, Rematch, the game that came out earlier this year to Xbox Game Pass and digital storefronts, is now coming physically in November. This is coming off of Patch 3, the announcement of Patch 3, which added crossplay to the game finally. So on November 14th, the Rematch Elite Edition will be hitting the shelves. It's going to be published by U&I Entertainment in the Americas, and in Japan, Bandai Namco will handle the distribution in Europe, Australia, and other regions as well. The Elite Edition is going to have some extras included for the $40 price tag, a copy of the game, 2 Captain Pass upgrade tickets, Blazon player background and title, Blazon jewel set, Blazon buckler tank top, glitch trainers, Blazon augmented reality cage, and a digital Blazon cap. All that stuff can be yours in Rematch. I think the main issue with this is the fact that Rematch, I believe, has already seen quite the drop-off of a player base, and at the same time, crossplay was a big thing at launch where it was like you didn't have any crossplay whatsoever, so like a lot of people were kind of left hanging dry from that. Like, it's great that they added crossplay in now, but it seems like maybe a little bit too little too late. And at the same time, if you want me to pay $40 for a multiplayer only experience, you better pack that thing full of like some offline content, and the only thing that this game has is some training modes. Other than that, it's all an online experience, kind of like how Rocket League was. So I don't think I'll be buying the physical version of Rematch until it goes on sale. Then it'll be a collection update. But until then, $40 for a physical version of Rematch with all those deluxe goodies in there if you want that. All right, we got a bit of a blast from the past coming out. The PS3 rhythm shooter called Beat Hazard is returning to PS5 and PS4 later this month. This is actually pretty big. This is one of those games that you would see on the PlayStation 3 store. It was always a bestseller, and it also had a very memorable avatars to unlock for the PS3. If you remember the like warning symbol avatar, that was a big one from this. Also, a bit of a smiley face was another big one from this. So, much like back in the day, you can use your own music to create the weaponry for your craft. There are 4.5 hours of original music for the game, but then you can also plug a USB stick into your PlayStation 4 or 5 and play music off of your USB stick, which I know is a bit old school, right? You know, that's what you had to do with Excite Truck back in the day on the Wii and all that stuff, you know. Like, I get it. It's a bit old school, but hey, if it works, it works. I don't mind at all. So I mean, the game looks like it's got a bit of a paint job done to it. Looks like the visuals and flair of the game has been improved, and yeah, I mean, it just looks like it's just gonna be such a blast from the past. I'm definitely gonna pick this up when it comes out. It's been 12 years since Beat Hazard Arcade came out on the PS3, and now it's gonna launch on September 24th to the PlayStation 4 and 5, which is great. The devs asked if it works with apps like Spotify, but they said no, not possible on PlayStation at this moment, which is unfortunate because that would be the easiest way to do this. But hey, you know, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, I'm sure that there is plenty of ways to download some music to a USB stick. Get back, you know, get out the old what's it called, Napster. that was the big one back then. I think there's also another one too. But yeah, so Beat Hazard Arcade coming soon. Very cool indeed. Keep an eye out for that. All right, here are 6 games confirmed for Xbox Game Pass in October so far. Of course, we always get some special editions during the month. October 15th, we're going to see Ball X Pit. On October 17th, we're seeing Keeper, which I'm very excited for. Ninja Gaiden 4 comes out October 21st. And Bounty Star comes out October 23rd alongside Moonlighter 2, which is the PC-only one there. And then all the way at the end of the month is The Outer Worlds 2, coming October 29th. So if you want to check any of those games out, they're all going to be available on Xbox Game Pass, which is, you know, obviously it's very nice of them to do. You know, a lot of these games are ones that I probably would have bought on the side if not for them being on Xbox Game Pass. I'm very interested in checking out Keeper, coming from one of my favorite developers, Double Fine. Very excited about that. I'll definitely be trying out Ninja Gaiden, of course. You'll hear me talking about that, and The Outer Worlds 2. You know, I guess I'll play that too. And then here are 8 games leaving PlayStation Plus. in the near future on September 16th, which is only 1 day away if you're listening to this on the day it's really on the podcast upload. UFC 5, The Plucky Squire, Night in the Woods, Road 96, Pistol Whip, Odin Sphere, Lifefrouser, Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, and Dragon's Crown Pro. There are a couple of games here you could beat in like a day. Plucky Squire, Night in the Woods, Road 96. I feel like you could beat those in one play session. Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch. Unfortunately, that's going to probably take you more than one play session there. Pistol Whip might be a fun thing for the PSVR 2. UFC 5, if you're a fan of those games, you know. But yeah, all these games are leaving the service soon, on the 16th of September. So make sure you check them out with 1 day's notice from me before they're gone. All right, folks, thank you so much once again for listening to this episode of Ferret 64. Very much appreciate that. This is a weekly podcast. I put a lot of work into it, so if you could give it a like on YouTube or give it a rating on Spotify, I would very much appreciate that. I've learned that even re-rating something on Spotify bumps it up in the charts, which is kind of interesting. You don't have to do any of that, of course, but it is appreciated by me, of course. Let's go ahead and do Guess That Song. If you know the name of the song and the game that it came from, let me know in the comments below on YouTube or Spotify, or in the Discord in the Ferret 64 section. If you talk in the Discord, I'll give you a super reaction, and you'll get the admiration of your peers. And if you comment on YouTube or Spotify, I'll give you a heart and a congratulations. Let's see if you know today's song right now. All right, once again, if you know the name of the song, game that came from, let me know in the Discord or down below. Discord is in the description below if you want to join that. We always love talking to our peeps, our listeners. Lots of fun conversation there. If you want to check out anything else I do, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret. We stream on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Right now, we are playing Hollow Knight Silksong, and we finally got into a part of the game that has been a bit challenging. So we'll see how that goes on Monday when I get back on that. I also have a YouTube channel if you want to check that out. I also have a podcast called Film Freaks with a Z at the end. We talk about movies. Most recent episode about Little Shop of Horrors if you want to check that out. That's a bi-weekly podcast. I also have a podcast that's monthly called Fubar Ferret. The most recent episode just came out about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you want to check that out. Also on my other channel, Ferret Football, or Football Ferret. No, it's Ferret Football. I talk about Browns games, recap them. We have a Ravens game coming up, so that episode, usually I get those things up right away after a game is done. So check those out if you so desire. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I am Yemmy the Ferret, and I am out of here. I'll talk at you next week. So long. The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Small sound clips used throughout the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The song in the intro and outro is Nightshade by Adhesive Wombat. The Ferret 64 logo was made by Player2P2. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions, video game related, are my own. Thank you for listening.